So I sent each of you just a quick thing saying just maybe 5 sentences minimum to get us going, like introduce your topic, what your interest is in it, what your school is doing, and what challenges you're dealing with, and then what kinds of things you would like the rest of us to talk about. And it can be that we all kind of share some questions and concerns, but it could be that we got some best practices represented in our webinar audience here, and you know, that we can all learn from each other. So I asked Isaac to kick us off. Yes. He volunteered to talk about stackable certificate options. So somebody could sign up for a certificate of, yes, of a few courses and maybe earn 1 certificate, 2 certificates, yes, and maybe those add up to a master's degree as an option. Yes. So go ahead, Isaac.
Do I have permission to share my screen?
Let's see.
If not, I can talk, you know, but.
Renee, can we get him permission to share his screen? Let's see.
Okay. Remember, I'm Steve today.
Oh, right. Let's see if I can, okay, so I got to find another Steve.
Okay.
I'm not sure how to do that.
I see it. Thank you.
Is that green arrow popping up for you?
It is. So let me find what I'm looking for. Okay.
Yep.
And I need to go to my PowerPoint.
Yeah, that's working.
Yes. Okay. Well, what I'd like to share with you this afternoon, I posted some questions based on Steve's comment. Why certificate program? How did you handle it with faculty? How about accreditation? What are the challenges? Well, I put it in the advantages of a certificate program. And as you can see on my screen, one of the advantages of certificate program are designed with affordability, flexibility, and relevance at the forefront. In other words, it's easy for students, for faculty, and for them may not have time to complete a full degree, but we use certificates to basically get them the opportunity to like the program or to get expertise in other areas. Give students option to expand their area of expertise, opportunity for students to try out in case you may not want the degree, but you can get the certificate, and if you like it, you can come back for the full degree. Few other advantages: opportunity for institutions to add more students to their degree program. Sometimes our institution, for example, we struggle, and certificate is an optional way for students to come into the program. And sometimes student needs to teach in a chosen field, and they need 18 hours. Well, certificate is an option to get that 18 hours so that you can teach in a degree program. Provide additional revenue to the institution. Student can get financial aid if the certificate is tied to the degree program. If you stand alone in our institution, we cannot get financial aid for students if they stand alone, but you can tie it to a degree program and then you get financial aid. And lastly, it's easy way to get through the accreditation. You start with certificate. If it's successful, you proceed to make it a full degree program. And also dealing with faculty. I mean, if you say you're introducing a new degree program, you go through a lot of trouble with faculty. But you can start with certificate program, and from certificate program, advance it to a complete degree program. So did we face challenges? We don't have challenges when we call it certificate. And we start with it and we migrate it to a full degree program. So that's what I consider advantages of certificate program and why we do it in our degree program. Let me just give you two examples of certificate program we have in our degree program. You can get MBA in our degree program, and you can get Master of Science in Management and Leadership. But we also have two certificate programs: cybersecurity, which is only additional 3 more classes to tie to your Master MBA and to tie to your Master of Science in Management and Leadership, either one. And then we also have entrepreneurship concentration. It's a certificate. You can tie it to MBA or you can tie it to MSML. So that's, and now coming in January, we have a list of other degrees that is coming, which we're just currently looking into it at this point. Some will come in form of certificate and some will come in form of degree. So that's my comment. I welcome question and comment on this certificate program.
Thank you, Isaac. Margot typed a question in the chat. Do you pay the same rate for, or do the students pay the same rate per credit for the certificates as they would pay for a grad program?
Yes, we pay the same rate. And remember, one of the advantages is student can come back and get the full degree. Now, if you don't want the full degree, then you may not qualify for financial aid. Then your company may have to pay for the full certificate program. Yes, so we charge the same price.
And what, do you have any questions that you would like to throw out for us to discuss, Isaac?
Well, my question I want to throw out is this: how do you decide when you're ready for a new degree in your program? We start by way of certificate to get us to the next degree program. But how do you go about it in your institution?
Well, for us, we're really working about 3 years ahead. Okay. So what we're talking about right now are what are the new programs that should be launched 3 years from now. And the things that should be launched 2 or 1 year from now are already in the process, in the pipeline of organization and implementation. So one of the things that I do is look at a state Christian colleges, typical things that they offer, and then I go pull IPEDS numbers and see what are their graduation that the big ones who have lots of money for this kind of research are putting their efforts into launching or continuing.
Thank you, Heidi. Good comment. Does any of your institution face challenges working with faculty in terms of faculty senate or whatever group you call your faculty? And how do you go about it?
I think my faculty is very concerned about appearing to be a degree mill. And so if I talk about certificates, they would want them to be really credible and not just, you know, some sort of master's light, you know, marketing gimmick just to, you know, that looks like we're just trying to get money. Okay. And I think it's going to matter a whole lot which department is offering them. I think if our business department offered like a Microsoft certificate and some existing things out there, and then we could package those as part of an MBA, I think there'd be trust in that. Whereas if, I don't know, psychology just said you can get a certificate in adolescence and you can get a certificate in whatever, and it wasn't tied to anything out there, I think there might be suspicion that we're trying to, you know, pull a fast one or something.
Thank you. Thank you. In addition to what you said, Steve, we do what Heidi also mentioned, to look at the job market and see if there are other institutions in the area that are currently offering the same thing. We try not to compete at the same level with other institutions, but to do something different and unique to fit into our mission and vision of the institution. That's something else we do in our college.
So can I ask both Isaac and Heidi, which programs have certificates right now?
Currently, we have 2, MBA and Master of Science in Management and Leadership, MSML. Those are the 2 graduate programs where we have certificate right now.
So this was a question that I was going to ask Isaac, because we used to have certificates,
okay,
and we took them all out,
okay,
about 5 years ago, because we interpreted the federal regulations of certificates, meaning that you have to track them and provide those reports forever into the future because they earned a certificate.
Okay.
And so we didn't want to have to do that, so we just removed the wording certificate.
Okay.
Right now, we, like this last month, we launched a professional development boot camp.
Okay.
Made available for free,
okay,
to the teachers, all teachers in the state of Tennessee. And to date, we have 14,000 people who have signed up for that. And so that's a similar thing where we're offering professional development, but we're not calling it certificate, and we don't call them certificates intentionally. So I'm kind of curious how your institution is determining how you're going to track those under the certificate process.
Thank you. We actually changed the name and call it a work certificate, but we changed it to concentration. And also, because students cannot get financial aid with certificate or concentration, we have to tie it to a degree. We started with certificate, but we tie it to a degree program. And it could be from any area. For example, cybersecurity to MBA, cybersecurity to Master of Science in Management and Leadership, entrepreneurship to MBA or to Master of Science in Management and Leadership. And it's been receiving great attention from students. And in fact, a number of people have gotten a degree in either of those. They try to come back and sign up for that. So now the challenge is, how are we going to work it out with financial aid? I'm not there yet. I might probably tell you that in another year or a few months.
Yeah, I heard the same thing from my registrar, Heidi, that we couldn't call it certificates. I know Bill Gates threw out the term merit badges years ago, you know, that you could sign up for different badges and stack those together. So, yeah, this is helpful. Anybody else in the audience doing this or using a different term or doing something similar? Looks like most of you are muted, so if you're trying to talk, you should unmute yourself first, please.
We do certificates as standalone. You know, there's no aid, but they are pretty much all tied to a degree program, both what we would consider like undergrad certificates and grad. We only have one grad one right now, and it's a Lean Six Sigma. And that's tied to our organizational leadership program. So, you know, I think, I kind of let others next door handle the legalities of all the, what we call it and how we have to work the whole thing. But one thing we did with our certificates, at least at the undergrad level, haven't explored this fully at the grad level, is reducing the cost of a certificate, so that for those who are just coming to get the certificate, they pay a lower rate. And that has helped us pick up a few new students, just because, you know, they're not sure if they'll be successful coming back. And so they just want to kind of dip their toe in the water. And at a lower rate, they were more apt to do so. And I believe of the couple that we've had do that, they've decided to fully join the program. So it has been beneficial, and I love the idea of adding more. It's just trying to figure out what those offerings should be, I think, at the grad level.
So it's an introductory offer, and they can still use those credits,
Right.
even though they paid less.
Mm-hmm.
In teacher ed, we have a problem with some states and provinces that offer professional development courses, and they're fully legitimate courses, but you only pay about half for them.
Yeah.
And then the deal is they don't get transcripted anywhere. And then if somebody sends us a record that, hey, I did this course in Ontario, we can't accept it because it's not from an academic institution, you know, for credit. And people are often confused about that and angry. Like, I took this full course, I did all the work, and we're like, yeah, but you only paid half for it and nobody transcripted it anywhere. So we're not allowed to touch it.
On a similar vein, I went to a micro-credentialing conference at Lipscomb University, and they are doing badges, but they are putting it into a separate portfolio that gets attached to the transcript. And so this was a couple of years ago, but they were very hopeful that that would be something that employers and other people would find helpful, even though it wasn't part of the official transcript.
So how are they transcripting it?
They didn't transcript it. They had a portfolio as part of the student record. So you would have your official transcript, but they would also, in addition, send a portfolio that described the badges that had been, or the micro-credentials, they were calling them badges at that point, that had been earned.
Micro-credentials, that's a way to the federal thing about certificates. Make up a bigger word.
Yes, yes. So they actually hosted a conference on micro-credentialing and brought in some national speakers. It was quite well done, but that was something I was just looking up in my notes about what I had learned from that conference or how things were being done at different places.
That is good to know. Okay, anybody else? Let's see, where's the up there? Can anybody see the chat?
Oh,
there...
yes.
Yes.
From Jasmine, she was asking me about the professional development course. Mm-hmm. What does it cover? And do you see some of those that go on to enroll in programs? That's what we're really hoping. So even if a small percentage of the 14,000 so far sign up for a graduate program, it's just a great way to make that connection, to be serving people in the midst of this, just weird times, and helping them to learn. The course is on online learning. And so the target audience are those teachers who just were trying to survive this spring, but are thinking that they may have to do something in the fall that's more significant. And this is the K-12 teachers. We're not talking about higher ed. It's K-12 teachers across the state. I don't think we're just keeping it just to the state, but we did get a lot of press in the state, and it's free. And so we have had 14,000 sign up. Of course, fewer students are actually doing anything or will actually complete it, but that's 14,000 people who know Trevecca, and we have their contact information now and have made that connection with them.
I'm going to write that down. 14,000 new teachers signed up for free online training, basically, or?
Yes, online. I'll see if I can find a link and put it in the group chat, because there was press coverage and all kinds of stuff about it.
And then if those 14,000 teachers come back to you for a master's, are you going to accept any of these as credits?
No.
Okay.
No, it's free. It's
Right.
just a way to serve in the midst of people trying to learn and figure out what to do.
But out of 14,000, you're going to get some who will come back.
Right. Even if you get 100, that's wonderful. If we got 10%, that'd be awesome. 140 would be great.
When I was in another university in Wisconsin, we actually do that every year and bring public school teacher and give them certification. We do give them credit, not college credit, but something they can use as part of the package for their certification when they go back to their school. Guess what? A number of them come back to get their master's degree with us. So it's a marketing tool.
Okay, that
And
was
found
an
the link, and she
topic.
put it in the chat box for us, so you can click on that link and see.
Okay.
Thanks. Awesome topic, Isaac. Thanks for volunteering that. I think that was really helpful.
You're welcome.
Let's move on to Lisa from Evangel, who offered to talk about partnering with outside organizations for real-world learning. And she writes, we have a number of partnerships with local school districts for one of our grad ed programs. Programs are on site at one of the district schools, taught by administrators within the district and geared toward their particular mission and development needs. So take it away, Lisa.
So some of you may do this at your institutions too, but I think what's been really successful for us in the past year is these partnerships. We have a school district partner coordinator in our graduate program who was a superintendent of schools at one of our local schools forever. And so he has contacts really out the wazoo, and that has benefited us greatly. So he's met with these superintendents of schools just to say, hey, how can we partner with you? You have professional development needs and you have money from the state. So at least in Missouri, probably similar thing in your state too, but a percentage of those school district budgets are allocated for professional development and they must be spent. And so, you know how if you got kids in school, you know, teachers are off all the time for professional development days, and they're bringing in speakers and sending them to a conference here or there. And, you know, our approach is those are great and, you know, keep doing them, but maybe a wiser use of the funds you get would be to help your people earn an additional credential of some kind. And so, that's really been received well. And the program that we have with the schools is a master's in curriculum and instruction leadership. So it's sort of a custom program, and there are, you know, many courses in the program, and then the school district chooses the 30 credits that they want for their district. And you know, in the end, most everybody takes almost the same thing. You know, we have 4 partners right now that are working. We have an EDD partner, so that's a different thing, and we have a couple new partners coming on in the next academic year. So, you know, one district has selected, they want Ed Psych Applied to be part of their program. Another district is curriculum and instruction in the digital age. So that was like an ed tech course that was revamped, and we actually allowed some of those district leaders to participate in the redevelopment of that particular course. And now other districts are saying, hey, we want the course that school district has. And so it's been really neat to see, I think, the collaboration, and our grad ed program, we have 130 students from those partner schools right now, just in the grad ed program. So, you know, we feel like those numbers will go up. We do give the district a discount if they have, you know, 10 or more, and then if they 15 or more, it's a little more discount. But what we started realizing in the fall, I think, or maybe it was spring, I feel like since we've been home a little bit, some of this kind of runs together for me, that we really need to try to figure out how to maximize those partnerships. And so we already have organizational partners here in town, local businesses that have access to all of our online programs. So we started kind of an add-on benefit to these school district partners that allows other people employed in the district who would like to go back, because these partnerships we have, it's sort of a thing where the superintendent selects the teachers that he wants to be as students in the program. So, you know, those top instructors in the school districts that you see great potential in, and that's great, but there are other people employed in the district, whether they're teachers, maybe they want the EDD program, or maybe they want the literacy program. We want them to be able to participate in a program at a discount because they're a partner also. So we've kind of expanded that partnership to include our undergrad programs that are online. We had a gal that worked at, I think it worked at in the Branson School District, and she said, hey, I heard that we are partners with you guys, and I need to finish my behavioral health degree because I love this district so much and I want to go on and become a school counselor in the district. So I feel like these partnerships are really creating some loyal employees, even more loyal employees to the districts. And I guess my question is, or I've been thinking about, how can we maximize these partnerships even more? What are some other things we can do? Are you guys doing anything? Because these seem to be really working for us right now.
Lisa, I just posted a question at you, asking how long does it take to finish that degree program? And my second question is, it seems you have it for different degree program, the partnership, not just limited to one area, but masters, EDD, and on and on. Is that correct?
Yeah, so it takes all of the grad ed programs are 30 credit hours. So they're done in 2 years. And the thing about the partnerships is they meet on site at one of the school district locations. We have one that meets at the district office. We have one that meets like in a conference room at the high school. And so the classes are actually taught by administrators or other already qualified instructors within the district. Some are our grads, so that's kind of fun. But they're really able to customize the program to fit the needs of the district. And so when the students walk out, they you know, those administrators can be confident that these teachers have learned what we want them to, you know, for their outcomes. And so we give them a discount for the group, but we also, you know, we have other organizations that they're just partners with the university in general, and they get a smaller discount to any of the grad programs. So, and we're trying to build that. It's been a little difficult right now, I think, with all the COVID craziness that's going on, but which is why I think we're trying to think of how can we maximize these even more.
And this is just in teacher ed where you're doing this, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you accept credit earned from another institution? And if yes, how many do you allow into your program?
I think the ed policy is 9.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
We did one group of our EDS to EDD program with the Metro district that's right there, well, around Trevecca. And so they had a say in who came into that program because they were picking the people that they wanted to continue into leadership for the district. And then they had enough. They actually funded it as well. So they had their own cohort to complete the EDS degree and then the EDD degree. We only did that one group, and I don't know all the details about what happened after that, but yeah, that was a really great partnership and hopefully very helpful for Nashville Public Schools.
Yeah.
Is anybody else doing anything similar to this? It seems like it would be scalable with like an MBA or nursing degrees or, you know, a lot of different things.
At another institution, I have had this done. We did it with an RN to BSN program where we offered it at the location, the hospital location, and it was open to other people, but of course the majority of nurses at that location were in the cohort because it was convenient for them with their job schedules.
Right. We have talked about doing this with our MOL program, and I think we have talked to a couple of organizations and offered, you know, the ability for us to go on site and do classes, you know, after first shift or, you know, something like that. And I think maybe we haven't fully developed exactly what we want that to look like. So we really haven't got that off the ground. Well, if you know of any other schools that are doing it, I would love to know about them because, you know, just like to kind of pick their brain and see what else we could be doing.
I think kudos to you guys because when I was at Huntington, the situation in Indiana was sort of the opposite. You know, the state said no more raises for having a master's degree, and our MED and a whole bunch of the other MEDs in the region just dried up. And you're doing the opposite. You're going and you're saying, here's this credential that's got credit and tuition attached to it, and convincing the school districts to pay for that. You know, our districts were bringing in big names, national people, to do like a big keynote and then work with small groups, but it was for no credit, and they were preferring that to sending their students to the local colleges for MEDs. So you've turned that totally around as far as I can tell from listening.
Yeah. Yeah, we had a site visit to one of the locations not long before we all went home, and the site visitor was he was very pleased with how the operation went, that it was kind of designed for that district. So, you know, they have the same outcomes, but very closely, you know, the work they did was very closely aligned with what their district needed. And he thought that was very innovative. And he was actually from a college in Joplin, about 70 miles from us. He said, I think I'm going to take that back to my group. see what we might be able to do around that area. So.
All right.
Lisa, are you in North Central? Are you in North Central?
No, we're in Southwest Missouri.
Oh, okay. So your accreditation is what I'm referring to.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, North Central.
Okay, okay. Well,
Yeah.
North Central is much easy on people than South.
Yeah.
I know Heidi is in the SACs like me, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I love
They're
North Central.
not so receptive when you are in other areas. I don't know. We're pretty, I don't know if blessed is the word with North Central, or I don't know. I've heard stories.
All right, another great topic. Thanks for stepping up, Lisa, and sharing what you're doing there, and kind of giving us all some inspiring things to think about. I think if we can, the more we can partner, the more we're not just the ivory tower over there taking their money, but, you know, businesses and others, organizations in the region can really come to us and say, here's what we can offer and need, and here's what you can offer and need. It's really cool. All right, let's move to Heidi's topic on strategic planning. Heidi offered to do like 12 topics. So I looked at those and I thought, how about talk to us about strategic planning, which probably includes the other 11 topics. So I don't know what you ended up with, because you only had like half an hour to think about it.
Heidi, you're tough.
But why don't you take it away, Heidi?
Yes, so kind of starting out to talk about how we answered the question before in Isaac's topic, thinking about what are the programs that are being offered by other institutions, because there does have to be a balance between the programs that people want and are very popular and the things that make us unique. And so sometimes finding what's very popular and putting a spin on it to make it unique is the best way to do that. So I do make an annual review of websites, all the websites of the Tennessee independent colleges and universities. I look at every single website in the summer and find out what are they offering, and then looking to see what's common among the big online schools. As I said, looking at IPEDS numbers to see what kind of programs have a nice steady or a growth trajectory over the last few years in their completers. And so that's a way for us to see, to kind of narrow the field down to say 20. And once we get it down to 20, what makes sense as far as making a funnel? Sometimes we're looking at, okay, we offer this bachelor's program. It would be nice to have a master's program that makes sense to go from one to the other. And so definitely looking at that. Right now, for example, we have an AS in business, and then we have a bachelor's degree in leadership and management. And then, of course, the MBA or organizational leadership, EDD. We've recently, this past year, we started a DBA because we really want to make sure that we have this huge population of students over the last 40 years graduating with the MBA, and how can we make sure that we have that DBA to serve them as well. So looking at those kinds of things. But of course, with starting these new programs, that also means that there's a lot of logistics related to that. So I have created what we call around the institution a launch list. that is every single step related to what needs to be done from the beginning of an idea to the implementation of the very last class in that program for the first cohort. We've had to change our IRB because we have doubled our master's and doctoral population in the last 5 years. And so what we were doing before just didn't work anymore. We have I could talk about some stuff about dissertation advising if we have some questions about that. Faculty, finding faculty, certainly a big part of having a big population growth in master's programs. So that's kind of a high level overview of the things that we're doing for strategic planning and graduate studies. And maybe we can take a few minutes and see what questions people might have, what direction you'd like the conversation to go.
So how many doctorate programs do you have at Trevecca?
We have 3, and that's because SACS only allows 3 as a level 5 institution.
You level 5, okay.
Yes, we are level 5. We are talking about trying to become level 6.
Okay.
You know, what does that look like? Right now, what I'm doing is contacting some Christian institutions who are level 6 and asking to see their faculty handbook, because I want to know what their requirements are for faculty, because we're very much a teaching institution. But I think when you're trying to go to level 6, you have to take it just a couple ticks further to the scholarship. It's not that we throw teaching institution out of the window, but I think we do have to make it just a little bit more of an emphasis for our graduate faculty to have scholarship. That's just one example. I'm just interested in finding out how other institutions who are level 6 handle their institution and the requirements for faculty.
And this is a question for you, Lisa and Heidi. Are your graduate program in business for Heidi? And it seems yours and Lisa is all in education. Am I correct? Your doctoral program.
Yeah, the DBA program is the one we started last year.
Okay.
We've had an EDD in leadership for 23 years.
Okay.
And we have a PhD in counseling psychology.
Wow.
And that's been 15 years maybe.
Okay. Okay.
Most of our graduate programs are in education, but we do have a clinical mental health counseling and school counseling graduate degrees along with the MOL.
Okay, thank you. Thank you both.
I do
have a question for Heidi. In terms of the dissertation advising, as our EDD is growing, and I know our team actually worked with your team a little bit a few years ago. I know Tim really kind of helped them to get some things off the ground and to think about some things as the program was going online. And so, you know, the program's growing, which is great, but our faculty are really struggling with the move from full-time people being dissertation advisors to, you know, just because of load issues, to incorporating some adjuncts in there. And I just wondered kind of how you guys do that now. And, you know, because this is tricky when the numbers get high.
So for the 23 years of the program being offered face-to-face, dissertation advising was always outside of load. And so almost all the advising was done by non-full-time faculty.
Okay.
For the who does a lot. So that was already typical. We did a couple of years ago put together a proposal, and it didn't get funded, but we were putting together a proposal to hire a handful of full-time faculty advisors who would be full-time faculty advisors, and that's all they would do. So that's what we would like to have happened, but it didn't get funded. And so what we did instead, the pool of advisors had gotten really big, And we, you know, every new graduate wants to be able to advise, and it had just gotten a little bit out of hand. So what we did is we brought it back down to now we have just a group that does it. They do 2 from every cohort, and so they're working their way up to a pretty significant load where they'll be advising. I think they'll be advise at 24 and read for 24 all at one time, and it's paid separately. It's not a full-time position. So making it a smaller group means that there can be a little bit more management and development of that group, you know, picking the people who already have experience or kind of know what they're doing. So that's where we are right now.
And as part of that office, or if it's an office, are they responsible for like doing all the finalizing of the dissertation, like reviewing it, you know, the ProQuest piece, or is that, do you have a different
we have
area for that?
Chapter 1 editor, and then we have a different person who edits all the finalized dissertations. And so no, they don't do their editing. They don't do the final approval of uploading. Last summer, I did a presentation on graduate studies logistics, and I'd be happy to send you that PowerPoint if it'd be helpful, because there is some stuff in there about this.
That'd be great, Heidi. Thank you.
We also have 3 editors that we recommend, and students contact them and pay them on their own. And we also, the people who teach the research design courses are asked to continue to be the consultant for students if they have questions later about research design. We pay our stats faculty for up to 3 hours to help students after the class is over with their stats. And if they need help more than that, they have to pay on their own. So that's kind of the support network that is around the dissertation process.
Okay.
How many in those 3 programs?
In just the doctoral programs? Let's see. I had that pulled up just in case anyone was wondering about numbers. Oh, I think we're in the 500s now, about 500.
So no wonder you need so many research advisors and editors and readers and statisticians.
Yes, the nice thing is those 3 programs are so different. They're in completely, well, you could say it's a nice thing. It also is a logistical nightmare because everybody does it differently. But yeah, there's no overlap of those programs. They're very different, completely different areas of the grad studies area.
When you said you look at the competition and you actually go to their websites and all that stuff, I've been doing that with all the CCCU schools for about 5 years. I have somebody update my spreadsheet every year. What are all the grad programs that all the Christian institutions are doing? And doctoral programs are really taking off in that time frame.
Yes, we've seen an increase of people getting the master's degree. And so it's just natural that we're going to have an increase of people who have already received that master's degree and want to know what's next.
Hey, Steve. Oh,
yeah, go ahead, Isaac.
I changed my name.
Oh, good. I see that now. I'm glad you figured out how to do that, because it was confusing me and it was probably confusing everybody. So, good deal. Any other questions for Heidi before we move on? Thanks so much for stepping up and offering another bunch of useful nuggets for us there, Heidi.
You're welcome.
We should do more of these conferences. This is turning out great.
This is fun.
Thank you so much for organizing this. This is really nice.
Yeah. Okay, I thought we'd wrap up with talking about faith integration. And a topic that I hear, or a phrase I hear a lot in Christian colleges and reading about Christian philosophy of education, is to avoid sugarcoating. And so we all probably have different ways that we address that. But it does occur to me that we come from many different traditions and cultures. So there's theological differences where, you know, there might be more of an evangelistic emphasis in some of our hosting denominations, whereas more of a mainline or an older, more established school or denomination or whatever might focus more on, they might say they're focusing more on intellectual excellence or something like that. And of course, we all know that just head knowledge is not the full, you know, definition of our faith, but we're in institutions that really specialize. I mean, that's our business, is selling head knowledge or giving it out and testing it and that kind of stuff. So how do we also have the heart and the hands, right? I mean, the whole book of James is that it's not just in your head, but it's in your hands. You know, you're acting out your faith. So I think there's a lot of challenges to this, and we're encountering in this last generation. We've been around since 1955, and just in this last generation, we're having to go beyond, and we're excited to go beyond our traditional constituency with our supporting denomination. So we have about 80 pockets in North America of loyalists from our main denomination. And now we're starting to get hundreds of graduate students in our MED, and we're launching a couple other graduate programs this fall. And we've got about, you know, a half dozen or a dozen more that we're talking about in the pipeline and stuff. So we are quickly not going to be just the institution with several reliable pipelines from several reliable big Christian high schools around the region that we always were. So, you know, overcoming the challenge of students who are unfamiliar with the university, that haven't gone through K through 12 Christian education, which most of our undergrads have had, and even that is changing to about 50-50 now with our undergrads. Adjuncts who are very qualified, who have gone through our master's program and, you know, done very well, and we would like to hire them, but they're not, you know, from the same faith tradition. They're Christians, and they can say, yeah, I can agree with all of that. But we've been very highly theological as a denomination, and you know, the challenge of spreading our nets on both sides of the boat, to use a biblical metaphor, I really think that that's what we're called to do. But that means that all these other fish don't look the same as the fish we're used to, you know. Our town used to be 100% Dutch. And in one generation, we've gone to the public elementary school being 40% Hispanic. Well, that's exciting, but that's a huge, you know, cultural change for our community and our colleges and our churches and everything. So, you know, to make sure we don't blow that opportunity and become, you know, priced out of that market and that kind of thing. And then the online format, I was joking earlier that the COVID virus was not the way we wanted to win that battle about online, but you know, now online is just making all of our grad programs so much more accessible. Up until about 2 summers ago, we still required in the intro course that students come to campus for 1 week in the summertime. Well, that meant international students weren't as likely to come, even students outside of Iowa, even our really strong constituent areas just over the border in Canada, we're finding it harder, much more time consuming and terrifying to just cross the border. It used to be just driving to Walmart was no problem for them. And just a bunch of things that have happened in the last few years. They preferred not to have to come to campus for a week. So we did away with that, and our enrollment just you know, bounced up. So all of these things are challenging our concept of faith integration. And we've always been really big on that, like all CCCU schools. You know, we've got our buzzwords. We talk about worldview and kingdom building and culture transformation. We love a quote that Abraham Kuyper in the Netherlands quoted, but it's in other places too, that every square inch of creation belongs to God. So there's no square inch that we should not be studying because it's secular or something like that. And Art Holmes at Wheaton and other people, other Christian philosophers have said all truth is God's truth. So we should not be afraid of any truth, biological studies or whatever. We've had a presentation a few times from one of our biology professors who says creation or the Bible and science are not in opposition, and here's why. They're not on the same level. Creation and the Bible are both written by God. God is one author of 2 revelations, creation and the Bible. That author is not going to contradict himself, okay? So if we think there are contradictions in how we interpret creation with science and how we interpret the Bible with theology, those are human endeavors. We are flawed. We do not see the whole truth. We see through a glass darkly. We are flawed by sin, and just because God is not opening our eyes fully at this time to fully interpret creation and the Bible. So we do our best. We try to be faithful interpreters of creation with science, and we try to be faithful interpreters of the Bible with theology. So of course, science and theology can appear to be at odds, but that's the task of Christians in academia, to do solid, responsible science and solid, responsible theology and responsible, you know, literary criticism and social science studies and all those things too, right? So I love that. I love explaining that to undergrads, and I love grads coming in that haven't thought about this. And, you know, every time I see a bumper sticker or some late night comedian talking about the Bible versus science, I try to say those are putting 2 different types of things in opposition. And we got to remember that we as humans are trying to be responsible in our interpretation of these things. So that can be, I think, a big central part of any graduate course to help students, especially if they're not familiar with your institution, or you know, they're devout Christians, but they still see their profession as being in one sphere and not having a lot to do with their, you know, their faith sphere. And then we have 4 things that we align throughout our entire curriculum, with 600 undergraduate courses and dozens of graduate courses. Every course syllabus, I believe, in the course objectives indicates how the objective is aligned to these 4 things that the whole institution stands for. And the faculty wrote this and they update it periodically. Those 4 things are, our labels for them are religious orientation. So what's our religious orientation? That includes our theology and our buzzwords and that kind of stuff. But it boils down to not so much having the right theological terms as trying to have the right relationship with God the Creator and our studying of creation and our responsibility and our, our stewardship of that. So religious orientation. The second one is studying creation structure. So which parts of every course are unfolding the structure of creation that God has put in place. The third one is creation development. So how is creation continuing to unfold? How are we learning about the social sciences? How are we learning about the learning process in education? How are we learning about, ethical, effective business practices? It turns out that more diversity and more ethics is actually good business, so there's research on that. That's unfolding. That's creation unfolding in front of us for us to discover and to, put together and to pass on to our students. And then lastly, this is the most Dordt buzzwordy one, is what we call the contemporary response. And I like to try to push all the graduate courses into a lot of that, because I don't think we need to do a lot of knowledge level on Bloom's taxonomy. I think we need to get into analysis and synthesis. So what is a Christian contemporary response to special education or to social problems in a social work program, or to criminal justice or politics, especially in this day, in our MPA program? One real Dordt buzzword is serviceable insight as part of this contemporary response. What serviceable insights can we provide? So we're trying to have prayer and devotions and things available, but not just have those things be an overlay or, what I call a sugar coating on a course that in its content is essentially the same as the community college or the state college down the road. But instead, how is the DNA of this course actually different from what you would get down the road at a secular institution? So, trying to bring that Dordt flavor, Dordt special sauce, but every time we come up with a metaphor, somebody says, but that's not integrated enough. That's not infusing. We've even said the word integration implies, mixing different ingredients together, but not infusing, the DNA. So I came up with DNA, and so far they like that in the administration. Like the proposal that I had written for this conference, but now my talk is going to be in October, uses the term not sugarcoating, special sauce, and our president uses that term, special sauce. But the provost that I answer immediately to was saying, now special sauce still kind of sounds like frosting on the cake and not, infused all the way through. So it's something that we all struggle with. And I've appreciated, being a Calvin College grad and coming back kind of to my roots to teach here at Dordt, because I think they do really seriously think about that, but it's not a slam dunk easy thing for any of us to make sure that the content that we might be getting out of a secular textbook is presented to the students in a way that is thoroughly infused, you know, at its root, at its core, with Christian presuppositions, without, you know, without saying that secular knowledge is totally flawed and anti-Christian and that kind of thing, you know, setting up a false, you know, a false competition. So that's what we do. That's what I end up thinking a lot about, because I taught undergrad philosophy of education for 6 years, and I teach in the graduate program, and I hire all the adjuncts. Throwing that out, what do you think? What are you doing? Any questions or thoughts?
Steve, just for my understanding, what's the name of your local church in my area? Any name that I need to look for of your local denomination?
Oh, Christian Reformed.
I got you. Okay.
And then there have been some conservative split-offs, like United Reformed, and then there were groups that never totally had joined the Christian Reformed, like Protestant Reformed, Netherlands Reformed. There are a lot of those in this area. They have a distrust of the official denominational college, which is Calvin University, owned by the Christian Reformed Church. So they trust Dordt, but our professors are all over the board on the age of the earth and, you know, different controversial issues. So we need to be really careful, you know, that students and their parents don't feel like we're, you know, doing a bait and switch and trying to indoctrinate kids with secular values. But we really want to be responsible and biblical about, you know, about what we're doing, and all Christian colleges do, right? But we're seeing, I think I said earlier that we had been very reliant on those denominations and their Christian high schools to send us our students. And things are just becoming much more competitive. Grand Canyon University and Colorado Christian, which, you know, sends people to CAHEA. They've been very nationally competitive, and some of our families have, you know, checked those out. And it's just becoming more expensive too. You know, it used to be that it was just assumed that, you know, families would send their kids to one of the Christian colleges, and that's just not an assumption we can make anymore. So we've got a challenge of a much wider, more diverse, theologically, but also just culturally diverse market. And I'm excited about it. Like I said, I love the metaphor of putting our nets on both sides of the boat.
Steve, I was just going to say, I think that you know, that's something that we struggle with as well. What are we doing across the board to ensure that we have integrated faith sufficiently? And so we actually did a professional development session not long ago about this topic, and kind of approached it, I guess, in three areas. We called it inside integration, outside integration, and then mentorship. And tried to make sure that, you know, if we can look at every program and say, and be intentional, you know, what's in your course, faith-infused curriculum, activities, the personal connection in your course. And then, you know, a lot of that, I think, really stems from having faculty who are the faculty that we want to make sure we have. So, and that's kind of hard sometimes, I think, when you use adjuncts a lot is, you know, our full-time faculty, they are required to be AG, the Assembly of God. Our adjuncts are not. So we have many, many, many fabulous adjuncts from other denominations. But it's always, you just want to make sure that they have a deep, abiding relationship with the Lord, because that makes a big difference, especially when you get into some of those hot topics that might seem a little controversial. In terms of outside integration, we try to have a focus on experiential learning, bringing in guest speakers who can speak to their faith as it relates to the topic, you know, that's happening there. Maybe how they work in their field as a Christian, you know, things like that. And then the mentoring piece, just making a point to spend time with people, praying for students' needs, so that it doesn't feel so like the secret sauce that lays on top. But we've tried to approach it from different angles to make sure that we're doing really what we need and want to be doing to serve our students and our institutions and our denominations well.
Yeah, that sounds great. And I've been really impressed with what a lot of CCCU schools are doing. You know, there's this fear among Christian colleges that we're all going to be like Harvard, and we're all, you know, on this slippery slope somewhere, and it's just inevitable we're going to, you know, become totally secularized. But I don't think that needs to be the case.
Hey, Lisa, I remember when Evangel was coming to CCCU. I was serving on my college cabinet then, and coming from the same denomination as Evangel, I strongly supported our college, our president, to vote in favor of bringing Evangel.
One of the things that we do is faculty have to respond on the annual report how they've worked to integrate faith in their work that year. And so that gives everybody an intentional moment to remember the importance of it if you're reporting on it. But things like online recording a prayer on Loom for an individual student or for a class of students, but if a student does a request for you, recording that prayer and sending it means so much more than saying, I'll be praying for you. It's that kind of, I think you're talking about mentorship. It's that can really add that element of mentorship in an online environment. My favorite story about a faculty interview was somebody who asked me, do you mean I'm allowed to talk about my faith in the classroom? I said, no, you're not allowed. You're not even encouraged. You are required to talk about your faith in the classroom. And it was just such an amazing moment for that person who had been an adjunct at a secular school and was so excited to bring that element of himself into the classroom.
All right, well, that's definitely an important set of practices for all of our institutions. We all kind of define it slightly differently. We also ask for an annual report from faculty that includes that, Heidi. So I think that helps remind everybody. So I'm going to declare this conference a success. And so we had a small group, but we had a definite group here. Thank you for those who attended and sent in questions and listened and all that kind of stuff. And thank you for those who stepped up and agreed to get these different types of discussions going. I did take notes, Renee, if we need those or anything.
I put the link for proposals in the chat box. So
okay, great. For the October thing?
For the October conference. So send me, we're having to do things a little bit different because of us moving it to October. So there will probably be evening sessions as well because we had to give up some meeting rooms. So, so anyway, we could definitely use more graduate proposals. Okay? So send them to me.
So Heidi, Lisa, and Isaac, you could expand what we did today if you want.
Okay.
Right.
All right. Thanks again, everybody. I got to
Thank you.
take off and get to a meeting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great to see you all.
All right.
Thank you all.
Bye-bye.
Bye.